Hello, you're watching my YouTube channel. I'm your host, kamranarshad. Today, I've invited a guest in my video, and I'm going to discuss about her life, her goals, her visions, and most importantly, her faith. Welcome, everyone, to today's enlightening conversation with one of the most influential voices in the realm of transgender advocacy and dynamic speaking. It is our distinct honor to be joined by Brandi Beckett, a beacon of courage, resilience, and unwavering determination. Hey, Brandi, thank you very much for joining us today. Good morning.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be on your show this morning. Thank you. I am very well. I'm excited to talk about my activism and what's going on in my life and to let your audience a little about me. Let them
Sure,
know a
sure,
little about me.
sure.
So
Okay, first
I'm
of all, tell
excited.
us, Brandi, about yourself.
Myself, I am a 51-year-old transgender activist and a
Hmm.
dynamic public speaker.
Hmm.
So I incorporate my story and my journey of my transition, discovering my gender identity and expressing that gender identity and that journey that has brought me on that and the education that I have got going through that experience to really understand what is gender identity,
Yeah.
what is gender expression, and how do we perform these identities and these expressions.
Hmm.
So I tell my story of coming out, but I also explain what it means to be transgender and what it means in our society to have a labeling system
Yeah.
that is a binary system and why not everybody fits into a binary system. So that's at the crux of my talks that I'm doing currently.
Okay. All right. Okay, first of all, tell us, as a dynamic speaker and transgender activist, how do you tailor your messaging to effectively engage diverse audiences and promote understanding and inclusivity?
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. Thank you. Yeah, for me, my target audience is general public.
Okay.
I want to reach out to people who, for most people, they don't have transgender people interacting in their life on a daily basis because let's face it, transgender people are about 1 to 2% of populations, and this is across our human species. So any culture you're going to look at, any society, if you look at that society through a binary system, like we have gender A or gender B or box A of gender and box B of gender, and we have all of these labels that we just put into those boxes. When a person expresses their inner identity of themselves, most people will fit into a box A or box B. And we call them cis people. That's kind of the definition of cis. I like to see a quick definition of cis is if you agree with the gender assigned to you at birth, then you are a cis person. So most people in our society are cis people. About 98% to 99% of everyone in society are cis people. So they can ask themselves, what is my gender identity? And most times it's going to align with that label that was placed on them when they were born based on their day one sexual characteristics, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
day one, everyone's born. They look at these little babies and they go, oh, look, this baby has a dangly part between their legs. We're going to put them into this box A of gender. This baby doesn't have a dangly part. They go into box B of gender. And then in these societies, and most of them, like where I grew up in the United States, we have this concept and we just think it's so within our culture that we think is across the species that since we have this binary labeling system, it should also address your sexual orientation, right? So they'll say, hey, you're a box A baby, you have a dangly part. So therefore, you should be sexually attracted to box B people,
Hmm.
right? And so that's the concept we have. So, like in my journey, I talk about how discovering my gender identity wasn't the typical story you usually hear with most transgender people, right? I didn't discover my identity. I didn't discover I was transgender until I was 42 years old. So, and getting back to my point of my target audience is general public, because most people don't really know or interact with transgender people on a daily
Public
basis.
supports you, or the public have a same opinion about you as you think about the public as well? What do you say?
It depends on where you are, especially here in the United States. I live in a bubble. I live in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is one of the most progressive cities in the United States. For like
Really?
under 100,000 population, we have the largest lesbian population of
Lesbian population.
any place. Yes, we have a
Okay,
large
then
lesbian
definitely
population,
they
large
agree.
queer.
They agree
Or-
on your opinion, right?
Some do. It
Okay.
depends.
It's a blessing
Not
for you.
necessarily just because your sexual orientation is in one way or one side of a spectrum or
Brandi,
into
did
a
you ever
box, right?
face sexual harassment from anyone in
But my
United
point
States?
is, sexual orientation is not dictated or connected to your gender identity. So some people who their sexual orientation is on a queer spectrum or they're lesbian, right? They may not experience gender identity issues at all. It's their gender identity probably is complete in alignment with their assignment, because gender, like transgender, is only dealing with gender, not sexuality.
Okay.
So, and we try to combine them in our society, and many societies do. And
People
so growing
support
up
you.
in America,
People support you. People make friendship with you.
Say that again.
How do you say? How do people support?
How do people support me for my victim? Oh, they can book me for my talks, and that's that. I'll send you a link to it, and you can put it in your video. It's at All American Entertainers, and it's Brandi Beckett. So they're the booking agency where I can do live talks. I can give talks or lectures online and do interactive classes as well.
Then how do you get your
I can do that online and in person.
How do you get your reward?
How did I get my what?
Reward.
I don't understand what you just said.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
how did you get your reward when you give a lecture to the public and all that? What makes you happy after your lectures? A public support, a compliments, or flowers? What is?
When people think about what I have to tell them, that is my satisfaction. I'm not going to change minds on everyone I talk to, but I want people to think about the messages I have to say. I want them to think about what it means to be a cis person, what it means to be a trans person, what it means to be non-binary, people who don't fit into a binary box system. They're not cis because they don't agree with the gender label assigned to them. And they may not be trans because they're not transitioning their gender expression and their gender performance from box A to box B. Many people live on a spectrum where they don't fit into that. And that's their gender identity.
Okay,
so
Brandi, are you satisfied actually?
It could be a non-binary people. And so I want people to think about that.
Okay, are you satisfied actually what you are? You are
Am I satisfied with
right?
me?
Yeah.
I discovered myself in 2015.
How did you discover yourself?
I discovered my gender identity. Oh, it's a fascinating story. Do you want to hear a little bit about it?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I call you for an interview, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
We have to back up. I discovered my gender identity on January 7th, 2015, on that day. But to get to that day, we need to back up to my story from 2012. So in 2012, I wanted to really question my inner self. I was not happy with myself. I was not satisfied with life. I was working for the Department of Defense for the US military. I mean, I had a good job. I had a retirement waiting for me. I had everything kind of laid out, but I wasn't happy. I didn't think I was happy with my life my entire life. I was never, no matter what I did, I was never satisfied with being me. I was not happy. I didn't feel comfortable in my skin. And not feeling comfortable in my skin was something I've experienced my entire life at that point. And I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was never comfortable in my skin. So in 2012, I challenged myself. I started a personal journey based on two fundamental principles. One, to ask myself earnest and ardent questions about myself. And two, to always answer those questions with sincerity and brutal honesty. And to use the best epistemological tools within my grasp to get to those truths. So at the start of this journey, my epistemological tool belt, it was quite anemic and held together with fallacious fabrics. But soon I learned basic critical thinking skills and how logical structure of argument works. And by mid 2013, I resigned from the Department of Defense and I challenged myself to go to school because I was a high school dropout. I wanted to see if I could make it to a 4-year college. And in my personal life, a 6-year relationship was dissolving. So I wanted to not only challenge myself academically, but I wanted to question and challenge all aspects of my life. So I moved to Tampa, Florida, and I started going to a community college there that actually had student housing and it had in-person classes. So I was excited. And after a semester of being there, I was accepted into their Honors Institute program. And I was even awarded a scholarship. So I was, yay. But I was trying to figure out where my sexual boundaries and comfort levels were. At that time, I was like, I'm in my 40s. I want to explore my sexuality and see where I'm comfortable. So I started exploring. At that time, I would consider myself hetero. I was married a couple of time and, almost married, long-term relationship for like 6 years. But I wanted to explore.
Did you have an affair?
I wasn't with anyone at the time. I was single. I was in my 40s. I was a first-year college student, and I was going to make the most of my time in Tampa. So I explored the clubs. I explored the LGBTQ-friendly clubs. I explored the queer-friendly, even some of the queer-friendly sex clubs.
Okay.
And through my open and honest exploration, I discovered that I wasn't so much into the masculine form, but I was sexually attracted to femininity. But I also played a lot.
Brandi, tell me one thing.
Yes.
As transgender, what difficulties did you face so far?
Say that again.
As a transgender, what kind of difficulties did you face in your life so far?
Oh, systematic difficulties. That's the main things. Yeah. It's my government trying to rage attacks on us for existing.
Biden government or Trump government?
In our society is the hardest part. Our government's making laws that make it difficult for myself and people like me to get medical treatments.
It's Biden government or a Trump government?
IDs.
What? It's a Biden government or a Trump government? Republicans or Democrats?
Oh, it depends on which state, because it's a state-by-state issue. So if the state is run by a Republican GOP, and it depends on who they are, right?
Okay.
You can get extremes. Like in Florida, there's an extreme governor there, DeSantis. And as of recently, they're trying to get a bill passed called Florida House Bill 1639. 1639 is a very scary bill. This bill will force all government IDs in Florida to go by the day one sexual assignment at birth on your birth certificate. So no matter what surgeries you have, no matter what affirming care you have had, this bill doesn't care. It will not address your gender. In fact, on the bill where it says to fill out for a government ID, you want your full name, your gender, and your social security number for Americans, right? So that's what we do. We do your full name, your gender, and your social security. And that's how we look up everyone in America. Florida is trying to change it with this bill. They scratch out gender and they put sex in there. So sex, and then they define sex in this bill by defining it as your sexual characteristics on the first day you are born.
Do you support that bill?
Oh, hell no.
No.
Oh, no, this bill is going to harm people. It is going to be very harmful. And in that bill, it also includes the health insurance companies. The health insurance companies are forced to use sections of their healthcare department to deny services for transgender affirming. So that is a must in this bill. If the healthcare is going to cover any sort of gender affirming care, they must also have a transition, as they like to call it. It's not allowing people to affirm their gender identity. So this bill is forcing healthcare insurance businesses to deny people healthcare insurance.
Okay.
So it's very, very harmful. And this is not the only bill in America. In 2023, there has been more than 500 bills written specifically targeting transgender people in these United States. And in 2024,
tell me one thing again.
For more. There's going to be more bills. So that's what I'm facing as a transgender person.
I want to ask
I'm facing systematic attack on my existence.
Okay, I want to ask something. Actually, did you face any difficulty to get a job as transgender?
Oh, I've worked for 30 years as identifying as a cis hetero white male in America. And for 30 years in the workforce, I had no issues. I was a good employee all the time.
Wow.
After going to school and during school, I started going through my transition. And after graduating from Mount Holyoke College as the second transgender woman to ever graduate from an all-women's college here in the United States. After graduating, getting my prestigious degree, I went and did similar work that I did before I went into the same kind of work I was doing in the government. I did it for another company outside the company. This company was the first time I've ever been fired from a job in 30 years. And it was because I was trans. When they were writing, after they fired me, they didn't really give me a good reason to fire me. They just fired me. And then when I seen the insurance for the unemployment of when they fired me, so my health insurance and all that, the conversation back and forth between the two companies were using wrong pronouns for me. My legal pronouns on all of my government IDs, my passport, my driver's license, my social security, all of them have my F, my female, my womanhood. And they were not using that to talk about me as an employee. They didn't have access to my dead pronouns, but they still used them. So that type of discrimination I've had subjectively.
I got your point, actually, Brandi. Okay, can you share a pivotal moment in your advocacy journey where your speaking engagements had a significant impact on raising awareness or promoting positive change for transgender rights? How do you see this?
Oh, goodness. I get that all the time on micro levels is my favorite. I do a lot of not just speaking on stages to big crowds. I also do a lot of one-on-one activism. And that is my favorite way to reach people that I've interacted with for years. And then I approach a topic with them about, oh, by the way, I'm transgender. Here's an issue that we talk about. And what I like to call ninja activism, like for me, I'm an active pool player. Like billiards, I love playing pool. I travel all over the country when I do my talks, and I'm always stopping at the pool halls. And I play a lot. I've gotten to know a lot of the pros on the pool tours. I've gotten to know a lot of the local good players all over different regions of the country. And not single time have we talked about gender identity. We talk about pool. So no one in this pool world has a clue that I'm transgender or that I'm a transgender activist because I'm there to play pool, right? So I've been recently, slowly, with some of those people I've known for almost a decade, start
Mm.
talking about transgender issues that they've never heard before. They've never talked with a transgender person that they know.
Mm.
And they already have me in their inner circle. They
Mm.
already accept me. So they accept my message. It really hits them really well.
Mm.
And they can really absorb
Mm.
what I have to say to them. Like just the other day, I went to shoot pool and I sent some of my videos to
Mm.
some of the people there at this pool hall because I go there all the time.
Mm.
And the owner came up to me and she gave me the biggest hug. She goes, "Brandi, you're a genius. I just love what you had to say." She goes, "After watching your video, I was thinking about gender in ways I've never thought about before. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about what gender means to me for the past week." And
Mm.
I was like, that's it. That's what my activism is about. I'm not going to change every mind, but I want to hear my message to think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. It is
Think
our
about what it means.
it is our responsibility to
Yeah.
guide the people, right? In a polite and professional way that what you are and who you are,
Yeah.
right?
I'm an activist for a social movement, and we look at
Yeah.
social movements, especially here in the United States.
Mm.
Throughout our history, they've always had resistance, every
Yeah.
social movement, for equality and normality, right?
Okay.
Every time when we said half of our population should vote, and then it took till
Mm.
1920 for
Mm.
half of our nation to start voting, that
Mm.
was a social movement, and there were people against it. And
Mm.
after it went through, it's like, it seems like a silly argument to say
Mm.
women in the United States should or shouldn't vote, right?
Mm.
That just seems silly. I
Hey,
hope in
Brandi,
50
I'm
years from
unable
now, it's
to
going to seem
I'm unable to
silly.
see you right now. Sorry to interrupt. I'm unable to see you.
You're what?
I'm unable to see you.
You cannot see me? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah, now I
Can
can
you
see
see
you.
me?
Okay, Brandi, tell me one thing. Uh, how do you update yourself about transgender rights?
How do I what about myself?
How do you update yourself? What tools you
Uh,
use for research and all that,
oh, yeah. For my research, I use a wide range
Mm.
of different varieties of sources that I look at. So I
Social
want to
media,
look
books.
at right-wing people, what they say about what it means to be trans and what it means not to be trans. I'm looking at left-wing people, what it means to be
Mm.
trans, what not. And I'm looking at all in betweens. What does our society say as a whole? What is my experience? What does gender mean as a culture? Because that's where my background lies. When I
Mm.
went to Mount Holyoke College,
Mm.
I didn't just go there to lollygag. I went there to study, and
Mm.
I studied anthropology.
Mm.
So I'm looking at a lot of gender
Mm.
issues through an anthropological lens.
Mm.
Through my ethnological training,
Mm.
I I interact with a lot of people, and I do a lot of my own research.
Mm.
So that's a lot of where it comes from.
Okay, okay, Brandi. This concludes our interview with Brandi Beckett, a trailblazer in transgender advocacy and dynamic speaking. Until next time, stay empowered, stay engaged, and continue to be agents of change in your communities. Thank you, Brandi. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And
Oh,
thanks for
and you
your
can
time as
follow
well.
Yeah, you can follow my videos on YouTube, Brandi Beckett at YouTube. It's Brandi's World. I can go to www.itsbrandisworld.com is my website. And my booking agency is All American Entertainers. It's Brandi Beckett.
Okay, I'm gonna follow you as well. Okay, thank you, Brandi, once
Thank you.
again.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
your time. Have a great day. Take care. Goodbye.
Enjoy your day. Thank you so kindly. Bye-bye. And I'll send you bye-bye. I'll send you some of those links, okay?
Sure. Okay, bye.